Hello everyone and welcome to a review of the game 9 Monkeys of Shaolin. The game was released on the 16th of October 2020 for a price of $24.99, which is a little on the pricey side in my opinion, but overall the game's content I actually really enjoyed towards the end of the game, and I'm going to go over all the different things and reasons why I enjoyed it and what I think needs improving. I want to thank the publisher Buka Entertainment and Ravenscourt for providing me a code to review this game. So I managed to get the 1000G in this game, and I want to say it was not an easy task whatsoever. So if I show you the achievement list, the achievement here for completing the game on normal and hardcore difficulty are both stackable, so you can get them in one sitting. So to do this, I actually had to replay the entire campaign in one sitting on hardcore, as I completed the entire thing before on hardcore and it didn't pop the achievement, but I did have a co-op character for the final level, which I think may have stopped the achievement from popping. But besides that, the achievement list isn't actually so bad. Some of them are a little more difficult to understand what you need to do, and most of it's relatively easy. So I'm going to get into it now because I've been talking for a while, but this is the main menu here, and there's no actual sound on the main menu. But I will show you that the difficulty can be changed in the settings at any time whilst you're playing. So for the sake of this review, I'm going to go ahead and put it on Novice. I'm going to load up one of the levels, probably the first one, just to show you what the game is like. And I want to go over a tip just before I start here. So the weapons in the game, I would suggest using this Forest Rage weapon, as it restores your health when you use QI. And the QI is a certain ability that you use in the game. It's for clicking the left trigger and X, Y, or B, and it will use QI, and that actually can restore some of your health. And it will also affect the enemies that are around you by either levitating them into the air or slowing them down, but this is definitely the one to use. You will start out with this oak pole here, and that's really good up until sort of the third chapter when you are facing some of the tougher enemies, so I'd go ahead and use this one, but you will have to unlock it over here, which is your abilities that you can upgrade in the game, and it's going to take you a little while, and you're going to have to grind a little to get the different points needed to upgrade all of these things, because there's 3 different pages, and once you upgrade everything, you'll get the achievements for unlocking all the different techniques. But overall, I really enjoyed this game. I'm probably going to give it a 7.5 out of 10, but I will explain why. I'm using the 108 passions in the weapon and items for the beads, as it gives me energy regeneration, so I can use my ability without actually having to hit anyone. I can stand over in the corner, not get hit, and then use it and get some health back. And I'm using these monk shoes, as the kick and gust inflict does 20% extra damage, which is really good when you're trying to face off against the tougher enemies especially. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the main game. The one issue I do have at the moment with it is that I have had an issue with the co-op online with a friend, as it was extremely difficult to even try and get into a game in co-op, and I couldn't even manage to do it. The devs have been messaged about it, and they have said, has the person actually got the game? And the response was a little awkward, but I felt that the game overall needs more dedicated servers to it, or just some kind of better method of actually getting in a game with your friends to actually play it together, as this game can be extremely frustrating on your own. The movesets I have overall are completely overpowered now, and you won't start out the game doing this much damage, but you can actually change the way that the character looks as well, and I'll show you where you can do that in the lobby. You need to collect these secrets that are throughout the game also, and these secrets are these little statues that are placed around, and you click RB to collect them. They're not difficult to find, they're usually like in a corner or behind a barrel in certain sections, but overall I actually really enjoyed this. The game's sound and music is okay, so I should probably turn that on, as I do have it on 0 right now. So if I put it on about 40, because it does get pretty loud on 100, and I don't really like how loud it is, and it actually kind of annoys me how loud it can be sometimes, especially when you're facing off against the tougher enemies, just consistently hitting them over and over again. I would suggest that if you're not so good at beat-em-up games, then you can go ahead and plug in a second controller yourself, and you can go ahead and revive yourself with either of the controllers when you die by holding RB, and during that time, you won't actually take any damage at all. So when you're reviving, no damage is taken by the character, which I found really, really helpful. The art style of this game overall, really good. Enjoyed the graphics. It's a side sort of scroller. Reminds me a little bit of the older games on the retro titles because of the movement you can have, and I actually really enjoy that kind of movement in fighting games especially. And it's not just left and right that you can move. You can dodge with A, and you have different moves than just the kick, but the kick is the one that I have the most damage with, which is why I'm using it the most. Besides that, the weapons overall in the game give you different abilities, and if it doesn't suit your playstyle, you can go ahead and use different ones. So I'm going to go ahead and show you here this screen. It will give you your reward, how many deaths you had in that level, and if you actually click restart at any point by going to the menu and clicking restart, it will count as a death. And if you play on the legend difficulty, which is hardcore, if you die, you're going to have to restart the entire level. So it is kind of annoying, and I do kind of think that it needs to be upgraded a little bit and improved upon. This here is where you go into the co-op mode. You can either do the local or the network play, but this is where you want to go when you collected these little statues, as you can see on the stairs, and it actually activates different things in the game by changing your character's appearance, to adding a filter when you're playing, or giving you a faster move set, different boosted effects, lots of different things. But overall, these are the settings that I used, and I'm just going to show you a different character by loading up another level here, and hopefully you'll be able to collect these, because they weren't actually too bad for me to collect myself, and I overall really enjoyed it with this beat 'em up title. And I do know it's going to be a backwards compatible title for the Series X and X, as well as its original release here on the Xbox One. So overall, I would recommend this game to anyone, as I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope that you do manage to go ahead and pick it up. The price for it, I think, is the one thing that's going to make it a little difficult to give it a higher score at the moment. It feels more like a $15.99 game or lower. It doesn't feel like a $24.99 game that you'd be used to with a bigger company, and I feel that is the one main complaint I have. Besides that, the movesets sometimes can be a little tricky to go through a level and not be damaged, as that's one of the other achievements, and that took me about 15 or 16 tries, and I did it on the first level in the game. You can collect teas that are around the game, and they give you different abilities and effects. So the green tea gives you the health. You can get red tea. I think it's white and blue, as far as I can remember. But they give you different effects, and those things can be really helpful towards you completing the actual level. But once you've got the other achievements, you don't need to go through the levels anymore without dying, because that's also another achievement. You need to complete the entire campaign without dying. If you manage to do that, congrats to you, because I know how extremely difficult it can be, especially the final level, which is probably the hardest level in the game, which is why I suggested the weapon that I did at the start, because that is going to enable you to get more health back, and you can also do it with two controllers, like I did if you're really, really struggling. But overall, if you want to go ahead and try and see if you can get the game completed on the Legend difficulty without the use of another player in the game, this is exactly the way that I would go about it. And that's about as much as I want to say about the game for now. It's not incredible, it's no masterpiece, but overall quite enjoyable. The bosses and stuff that you can go and defeat, you get these masks here for each of the bosses that you defeat in the game, and there's not that many of them, as you can see, as there's only 5 different chapters throughout the entire game, so it won't take you too long, maybe a couple of hours for a completion. But I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.